Hello, everyone. What's going on? This is the Noah Gillian Show, and I, of course, am your host, Noah Gillian. So happy you decided to join in today. Joining me on the show today is longtime contributor Connor Laverty. What's going on, Con?
Not too much. Happy to be back. Ready to talk AL Central.
That's right. That's right. So it will be the 27th of March when you guys are listening to this one. And on today's episode, we're going to continue the preview series, continuing in the American League, this time in the Central Division. Excuse me. Before we get into the show, though, please hit that subscribe button if you're watching on YouTube. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, please give us a 5-star review. Really help the podcast grow. Always feel free to send us a message as well. We'll answer it on the show. You can find our handles on social media, Twitter, Instagram, in the description as well. So without further ado, Con, let's just get right into it. The AL Central, not the most fun division out there. Let's just call it what it is. We had two teams almost lose 100 games, and another team finished below 500, and another team finished exactly 500. So we're going to start at the top with the Guardians, who won the AL Central last year with 92 wins. Was more of attrition than anything else, in my opinion. But this team has and will continue to be led by its pitching. Specifically their starting rotation and their elite bullpen. The question, I guess, is the lineup good enough for them? Because we love their pitchers, right? But is the lineup good enough for them to compete in October?
Yeah, I don't know. This division's kind of a crapshoot to me. It's kind of, in my opinion, whoever's going to step up between the Guardians, the Twins, and the White Sox. I'm not really sure who, but I anticipate one of the three winning the division and kind of pulling away. They're capable, like you said, because of how strong their pitching is, and they've got a go-to guy in Jose Ramirez. But
One of the best players in baseball.
What's that?
I said one of the best players in baseball.
Yeah, absolutely. And he struggled a little bit last year. His BABIP was low, 279 BABIP for BABIP is batting average on balls in play. So league average on the BABIP is around 300. He can see some positive regression there, could even bounce back a little bit this season. Outside of him, Stephen Kwan was a guy who came in as a rookie last year, looked really good. He's going to give you some speed at the top of the lineup. Good signing that I liked was getting switch hitter Josh Bell. He's always been very streaky in his career, so that's probably going to continue. But when he's hot, he's a very capable hitter. I don't know how much power they have outside of that. Ahmed Rosario and Andres Jimenez are going to be man in the middle infield, the two guys they got back from the Frankie Lindor trade from the Mets. Jimenez had a really good year last year, but I don't know. I mean, what are you seeing with them? I'll throw it out there right now. Their over-under win total is 86.5. Yeah, what are you seeing with the Guardians?
It's interesting. I'm a little confused why they have Jimenez so low in the lineup, but maybe that's, by design. Yeah, I don't know. I do like their lineup. I think it's good enough, but I just don't think it's good enough to compete like with the Blue Jays or the Yankees when they see it. I mean, they almost did beat the Yankees. They took them to 5 games last year in the division series. So like they have enough to compete. I just don't know if they have enough to make like a deep run. And maybe they do. They got a lot of contributions from Jimenez. Ahmed Rosario looked really, really good last year. Like you were talking about. Josh Bell, good on base guy as well, along with Pop. So, they do have a decent amount, but it just comes back to the pitching with me. I think it's good in the pitching with Shane Bieber, Tristan McKenzie at the front of that rotation, Emmanuel Clase at the back end of the bullpen. Like they have elite options with the arm. So I think that alone is going to keep them in. 86.5 is interesting. And it's not like they have a ton of prospects coming up either. They have a couple guys, a couple bats in Bo Naylor and Bo Naylor was the one I was going to talk about. Bo Naylor, and then maybe George Valera is their other bat who could potentially come up and make some noise. Maybe even Brian Rocchio. I've never heard of this guy, but he's their second.
Rocchio.
Yeah, he's their number 2 prospect. Probably going to debut this year, middle infield guy. So, you got a couple guys who could potentially make an impact.
I'd keep an eye on two pitchers. You want to talk about how good the pitching is. Gavin Williams, a guy who they took in the first round of the draft, not this past year, but the year before, flew through the minors in his only year last year. He's going to debut at some point this season. And then another guy who's under the radar, Tanner Bibby. Most people aren't going to know him. I really do expect him to debut at some point this season, but kind of just speaking to that Cleveland pitching tree, I think they do have a couple of arms coming up. So that pitching is not going to be going anywhere, in my opinion.
Okay. Yeah, I think they have. I think like what you mentioned again, them, the White Sox, the Twins. I think that's kind of an interesting. I think that's like the top three. It's going to be whoever kind of survives that. But overall, I think they're going to be as similar to last year. Just over 586 is an interesting total. We'll see kind of how that goes. I like another team in this division a little bit more than them, so I may even take the under on there.
I know who you like. You liked them the last 2 years.
It's not who you think. It's not the Tigers.
All right.
That was a big whiff on my part.
Let's get to this next team, then.
All right. So the next team we're going to be talking about, we're just going to go through alphabetical order. So the team we're going to be talking about next is the Royals. Unfortunately, no, not anything crazy there. But the Royals last year obviously didn't have a great year. They went 65-97. Not a ton to love about the Royals in terms of, I think their arms aren't great, but with the lineup, they have some bats, kind of, obviously Bobby Witt Jr., an absolute stud at the top of their lineup. MJ Melendez is going to more than likely be their DH, flip back and forth with their number 3 hitter, Salvador Perez, who's just been a GOAT of the game for the last, 10, 11 years. So they have those top 3. And then I'll let you talk about the cleanup hitter here, your boy. And that forms a pretty, formidable top 4 here.
Yeah. I love Vinny Pasquantino. He came up and debuted last season, hit 10 home runs, 295 batting average, showed good on base, 355 on base. This guy just knows how to hit. He can flat out hit the ball. I'm really excited to see what he can do. I think, he's going to be really, really solid this year. Like you said, outside of that top 4, it kind of drops off quick. Hunter Dozier projected in the 5, hasn't seemed to really stay healthy recently.
Yeah, he's fine.
Yeah, and then a couple younger guys, Kyle Isbell, Michael Massey at second base could be solid, but at the same time, not going to light the world on fire. Yeah, don't love the lineup. And then you look at the pitching and it's almost worse, which is like not great. Zach Greinke looking like he's going to be the opening day starter. God knows he's going to use that pitch clock to his advantage. He's going to do some crazy stuff, probably mess some hitters up, but he's not going to be great. Brady Singer. What do you think of Brady Singer this year? I've seen some mixed reviews on him. What are you saying with him?
I was just going to say 2 guys that I think could make and break are Brady Singer and Daniel Lynch. I think 2 guys who have been important pieces, both first round picks. They actually both got drafted in 2018. Both first round picks from the they had 3 first round picks in 2018. They also took Chris Bubick. But regardless, Chris Bubick will be in the opening day rotation as well. But I think those guys are interesting. Brady Singer, I think, is probably the best guy out of all of them. I think he has the highest upside. Daniel Lynch just hasn't really seemed to figure it out. But I believe I've been listening to one of the pods where they really liked more the shape of his sinker, how he was using it in spring training, and he was getting a little bit more ride on it. Then again, we do need to see it in the bigs. Like, we need to see it in regular season action. He's got some interesting comps on Baseball Savant to some interesting pitchers, but like 2021 Herman Marquez, 2022 Frankie Montas, 2022 Pablo Lopez. So but then also 2020 Dakota Hudson. So I think his range it's wide, but the top end of his range, I don't think is elite. And I think for the Royals, that's kind of a bummer since you used a first round pick on him. There's some stuff to like with these guys, but then again, I feel like we're talking a lot about guys that aren't really going to make a huge impact here. But Singer, I think of their guys, potentially has the highest upside of their rotation. After all I just said, if he is the highest upside, that's not obviously something you love to see. But other than that, yeah, what's their over under?
69.5.
Not nice.
Not
Not
nice.
nice. I'll take the under, dude. I'll take the under.
Best bet?
Uh, maybe toward the end of the episode, I'll see if I have a better feeling there. But yeah, so not much else to talk about there with the Royals. Let's move on to the next team here, the Tigers, who were my breakout team last year after going out and signing Javier Baez, Eduardo Rodriguez, all of these great players, and they ended up and they came and sucked. But that does not mean that they're going to suck this year. I think there's two guys, and they were rookies last year. They struggled. Riley Green and Spencer Torkelson. I think they're going to have better years this year, and I think it's going to improve their lineup as a whole. Will it have that big of an impact? I don't really think so. I think this team is still a ways away from competing. But I like those two guys, and I think their step forward, along with some other guys in their lineup, it's, they'll be a little bit more fun than the 66 wins they had last year.
Yeah, I mean, there's some things to like. Torkelson worries me a little bit. I do like Riley Green a lot. I expect him to take a step forward this year. Talk about a guy who's 82nd percentile in max exit velocity last year and 77th in hard hit percentage. So he's hitting the ball hard. Obviously, that ballpark is tough, suppresses some power out there in Detroit, cold weather, long.
It did alter the park a little bit this year.
That was going to be my next point. Yeah,
Yep.
so hopefully that can help Riley a little bit, maybe hit a couple extra homers. But outside of that, the rest of the lineup, I don't really love. Austin Meadows hasn't been healthy recently. We'll have to see what he's going to do. Jonathan Scope, he's just kind of there.
He's okay, yeah.
Looks like Nick Maton might be their starting third baseman.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. I don't love it. Pitching wise, same thing. I'm excited to see maybe Matt Manning can take a step forward.
Yeah.
Casey Mize and Screwball looks like they're both out. I mean, Casey Mize obviously with the Tommy John, but Screwball, he also had surgery. So
at the end of last year, yeah.
Two of their top guys not even going to be pitching. I don't even know if Screwball is going to pitch this year. So not great for them.
Nope.
Yeah, I don't
it's not even like there's prospect help on the way.
They're also 69.5.
The under on both, dude. Like, I just don't see the upside.
I agree. I think they're worse than the Royals, honestly.
Yeah, I like the hitters on the Royals more than the hitters on the Tigers. I'll tell you that much. Yeah. So, I mean, the pitch,
pitch.
Eduardo Rodriguez might be better than any pitcher on the Royals, but after that, I mean, we're talking about.
You're right.
Outside of that, we'll see. Matthew Boyd, is he healthy?
Looks like it. I thought he was going to pitch out of the bullpen.
Yeah. He's been there, huh? No, he was a free agent from Seattle. Matthew Boyd.
He was on Detroit.
And then he got traded to Seattle. Okay. I
don't know if he was traded.
All right. Regardless, that's about it.
I'm under on Detroit.
I'm under on both of them. Best bets. All right, let's move on to the next team here. A little bit more interesting. The Minnesota Twins, who swoop in and pick up Carlos Correa after they let him walk. He's back on the team. Carlos Correa signed 2 $300 million contracts, I believe, this offseason, and he didn't even fulfill either one. So he came back to the Minnesota Twins. Their lineup is a little bit more interesting. Their rotation is a lot more interesting. I'll talk a little bit about the rotation to start here, Con, because they made a trade in January for Pablo Lopez, and this is another team that has a lot of guys who are projected to throw a lot of innings. So that's something I like right off the bat. Pablo Lopez, Sonny Gray, they traded for. All these pitchers they traded for. So these are, they kind of have a type, an established arm in the bigs. They've seen pitch a little bit, and they go out and they trade for him. So Pablo Lopez, we got Sonny Gray, who's been there for a couple years. Joe Ryan, who we're both expecting to take a big step this year. We're big Joe Ryan guys. Tyler Mahle, we both like a lot. They traded for him from Cincinnati along with Sonny Gray. And then also Kenta Maeda coming back off Tommy John surgery, should be healthy this year. I like all 5 of those options. So when you talk about that, and then you talk about their bullpen, a guy with Jorge Lopez, who's been really, really good, but also a guy in Johan Duran, who has electric stuff in the back end of the pen, could be kind of in that Felix Bautista mold. How I said, maybe not like an elite closer, but someone with a couple nasty pitches who, if he takes the reins there, can really step up for them. Also, Emilio Pagan, another good righty in that pen. So I really, really like the rotation. The question then turns around to the lineup. Is the lineup going to be good enough again for the Twins to have a good year and contend, maybe for the division, maybe for a wild card?
Yeah, I think that is the big question mark. I agree. I love the pitching, love the bullpen. Duran is absolutely elite. Also like Griffin Jacks, another guy who might even get a couple save opportunities this year.
Okay.
But the lineup is just it's question mark. I mean, they also acquired Joey Gallo this year.
Yeah.
We'll see if he can actually make some contacts this year. Obviously, we know he's got the power there, but he's projected for a 195 average. So
I was just going
take
to
that
say
for
that.
what you want. Carlos Correa, like you said, obviously a huge signing. Buxton's just kind of been a key for this team.
He's the swing man for them.
He really is. If he can stay healthy, he's an elite option. We were talking
Before
about.
I was just going to say, before we move off Buxton, what was the over under for his homers again?
30 and a half.
And he's projected for 33, but he's also projected for 100 or 560 plate appearances. So that's a fun over under.
I'm gonna see if he's ever had that many in his career.
I don't think so.
Maybe once.
So that might be a nice little prop best bet we have here, under 30 and a half or 31 and a half home runs for Buxton. It's an interesting.
Most he's ever had is 511. And then get this. The most after that is 382.
When was 511? What year?
2017, 6 years ago.
And he hasn't cleared 300 something since then?
Last year was the second most he's ever had with 382.
All right.
And he hit 20. He's never hit more than 30 home runs. They must know something we don't know. He must have had something done this offseason.
You know what they say? Vegas isn't in the business of losing money.
He went to the cryo chamber this offseason. He's good.
Right. But the big news here is the return of Carlos Correa. And he is single-handedly going to just swing this lineup a little bit, because you look around and we both like, where even is he? He's hurt. Alex Kirilloff.
Yeah, he's always good. I like Jose Miranda.
Jorge Polanco hurt his knee a little bit, but he should be back soon. So talk about Kirilloff, Polanco, in addition to Correa, Buxton, Miranda, Max Kepler, solid.
They also acquired Christian Vasquez to catch.
Christian Vasquez from Boston, solid catcher behind the plate. I think if you squint, there's enough like star level talent in this. And then I think there's some young guys who could potentially be coming to their own in Jose Miranda. I'm blanking on his name, Alex Kirilloff. So I think there is some upside there. But like I said, I think their pitching is going to be a big reason why they're successful this year. So what's their over under here, Con?
From the sounds of it, you're going to like the over 83 and a half.
It's higher than I thought you were going to say. 83
really?
and a half.
Yeah, I mean, the Guardians are 86 and a half. Are the Guardians that much better? How much better is the Guardians lineup than the Twins lineup? And then I know we love the Guardians pitching, but we just raved about the Twins pitching.
I don't think any pitcher on the Twins are better than McKenzie or Bieber.
They're not.
So that's where I'm kind of coming down to.
You're right. And Clase is better than anyone in their bullpen. So
right. So that's where I'm kind of like, I think the Indians are like a little bit better version of the Twins. That's what I meant. What did I say? Indians? My fault. No, I said, I think the Guardians are like a little bit better version of the Twins. You know what I mean? Like if the Guardians had like one more like established hitter, and the thing is they have young guys that could establish into those hitters that could maybe swing the balance. But as of right now, I think they're just a step below the Guardians. Right. They don't have anybody as good as.
And Jose's a better hitter than anyone on the
Right.
Twins.
They don't have anybody close to Jose. So I think that's interesting. No, I think they're like really, really similar teams, but I do think that on the high end, the Indians have the most. And when you get down to a 3-game series for a wild card round or a 5-game division series, you know what I mean? Like that is the differentiator. So the 83.5, honestly, I take I like the other team we're going to talk about a lot too. So I think that's where I kind of want to reserve judgment on the 83.5
Right.
until we
All
talk
right.
about this next
You
team.
want
So
to
let's
get
just
where
get,
they're at first.
yeah, let's just jump into it. The Chicago White Sox. This is the team I've been waiting for. I think that this team is ready to go. Now, let's just talk about the elephant in the room right away. Obviously, Liam Hendricks dealing with cancer. Obviously, shout out to Liam Hendricks in his battle. Obviously, we want him to come out looking better than ever, but he is dealing with some non-Hodgkin's lymphoma right now. Obviously, we're not even thinking about when he can return to the field, but he was spotted in spring training, you know, throwing the baseball around. We'll wait till he gets cleared to include him in talks. Aside from that, let's talk about the White Sox because I think this is my team to win the AL Central. This is what I think. I'd love to hear the odds, so get that ready for me, but let me go in on here.
Ready, yeah.
Let's talk about the lineup. This is the best lineup in the division. You talk about Tim Anderson, perennial batting champion, could win the batting title, I think. We love Luis Robert on this podcast. This guy is an absolute stud, can be an absolute stud. They went out and they pick up Andrew Benintendi. He's whatever, he's got a good average, he's, steal some bags, whatever. Eloy Jimenez, I think, is a guy that everybody loved coming up. He's dealt with some injuries, but now he's healthy coming into the year. He could really step up. Yohan Moncada's been a solid batter for them. I love Andrew Vaughn. He's going to get full-time at-bats at first base with Jose Abreu gone. And I think he's really going to blossom. And then a guy that nobody's talking about, Oscar Colas, down in that lineup, I think is just going to be great depth for the lineup. I think he's just going to be a good way to turn the lineup over, get it back to Anderson, get it back to Robert. And I just think the lineup is really, really good. I'll let you get into some pitchers and if you have any other notes on the lineup. But I think that the lineup is the differentiator in this division. What do you think about the White Sox?
I do like the White Sox a lot. I'll play a little devil's advocate. I do think the loss of Abreu does kind of hurt.
It hurts. It hurts. As I'm going through that, I'm like, it kind of does hurt.
But I think arguably the biggest acquisition for the White Sox is the departure of Tony La Russa.
True.
I think they're going to really blossom without Tony La Russa. I really do. Call me crazy. But yeah, I like the lineup. I love Andrew Vaughn. I'm really excited to see him. They need Jimenez and Robert to stay healthy.
That's crucial. That's crucial.
Neither of them have proven to stay healthy. They're both great when they're on the field, but they've gotta stay healthy.
Mm-hmm.
I saw they're going to probably be DHing Eloy a little bit, keep him out of the field. I'm all for that. Just get him to the plate.
Mm-hmm.
Pitching wise, Cease is a guy who I expect to regress a little bit back to.
I agree.
Still a good option. He's just a little volatile. The walk rate can get a little high at times. Lance Lynn, love him on a bounce back. I don't have to say much.
I'm in on the bounce back.
No, I love Lance Lynn. Lucas Giolito's another guy who could bounce back. Don't expect him to get back to like a low 3 RA, but he could get under the 4. He could get a 3.5 if he puts it back together. Apparently he came into camp 40 pounds slimmer. He's looking, the whole best shape of my life thing, but he looks good. So they also got Mike Clevinger. We'll see. Obviously he's really battled some injuries.
Good recently. Depth though. Good depth.
Yeah. I mean, when he's healthy, he can pitch. And then Michael Kopech, who's got all the stuff and talent in the world. He's got some off field issues and he's also got some control issues, but when he's on, he's great. Obviously the loss of Liam Hendricks in the bullpen really love Reynaldo Lopez.
Okay.
Reynaldo Lopez. I saw I forget who the manager is now. I'm blanking on his name, but he said he loves Reynaldo, says he's like an awesome guy, super talented, and
Pedro Grifol.
Okay, he's gonna have him pitching in high leverage situations, I think. So
okay.
I wouldn't be surprised to see him closing some games for the
right. And I love the options. They got Kendall Graveman, Aaron Bummer, who's solid, Joe Kelly, former Red Sox pitcher, Dodgers pitcher, Ronaldo Lopez, Jake Diekman. They got a number of options. And then also Garrett Crochet, their former first round pick from 2020. Missed all last year with Tommy John, but should be coming back this year. He was a starter when he got drafted, but his stuff is a little bit more of a reliever stuff. So you got here, and let me just make my pitch. You got a ton of upside in the rotation, potential bounce back and upside. You got a lot of options in the pen to close games. And then you got a lineup that, and I guess this is the make or break. Like health is going to make or break this team. Obviously, Giolito's dealt with a little thing. Kopech's dealt with stuff. Clevenger's dealt with stuff. And then their bullpen is, up and down. Robert Jimenez been dealing with stuff, but I think this is my team. Let me get the win total, and then if you still have up the division odds, let me get that as well.
I got everything. All right. The win total, 82.5.
Over. Smash the over. They had a bad Lance Lynn year, a bad Giolito year, a bad Kopech year, and they won 81 games last year. Robert and Eloy missed time. I just think the health returning to form a little bit is enough for 2 wins. You know what I mean? So I think that's my big thing.
Okay. Division odds. The Guardians are the favorite, plus 130.
Fair.
Twins are second, plus 215. And White Sox are plus 250 in the third spot.
Okay. I think the White Sox rotation. I think Cease at his best can be on the level of a Bieber and McKenzie, if that's fair to say, right? And then you talk about the depth of their rotation, I think is important, and the lineup. So I am going to make my best bet over wins, and I think I might sprinkle a little bit on the White Sox to win the division. So I think those are my bets as we kind of wrap up this AL Central preview with the White Sox. What do you think about those? Who are your best bets with the division, win totals, anything else you got?
Yeah. I think I like the Tigers under 69.5.
Love that.
I think I like the White Sox over 82.5. I don't know if they'll win the division. I think it's going to be a bloodbath at the top with those 3 teams, like I said. But I think they're going to win more than 80.
Yeah, I like the win total more than the division, but I think the division's, it's good enough.
Give me a breakout hitter, pitcher in the division, any team.
Okay, I'm just going to stay on par with where I've been. Oscar Colas. I think this is a guy, maybe I'm just have my dynasty team colored glasses on right now, but I think this guy is going to be a big piece of the revival of the White Sox lineup. I think there's a lot of known in this division with Jose Ramirez, Eloy and Robert. They haven't really done it, but like we kind of know their potential. The Tigers, they have some breakout guys, which might be where you're going. The Royals have, a guy who could potentially be a big breakout. They also have some established guys as well. So I'm going to go a little off the board, but I'm going to go Oscar Colas, outfielder for the White Sox.
Yep. I like it.
Just say Vinny Pig already.
You're right. Yeah. Vinny Pig.
Vinny Pasquantino, we knew it was a breakout.
Kansas City Royals. Yeah. I think he could push 25 plus, maybe even 30 homers if he really gets hot. I think he could flirt with a 300 average. I think he's going to be really, really good this year.
Awesome. All right. Well, I think that'll wrap it up with this division. Got a lot of good bets there. We'll bring those back, but yeah, I think that's going to wrap it up for the AL Central, and that's going to wrap it up for this episode. So definitely check the description below for all our social media handles. Definitely keep an eye out for more of the preview podcast coming out, and we look forward to seeing you back here again next time.